They say blood is thicker than water, but nobody tells you that sometimes blood becomes poison, and water is the only thing that can wash you clean. My name is Claire Rowan. I'm 32 years old, a single mother, and a financial advisor at Landmark Credit Union. For the past 10 years, I've been the backbone of my family, the provider, the caretaker, the one who always said yes when everyone else said take. Tonight is my father's 61st birthday. We're gathered around the dining table in the house I've been paying for since I was 22. The house that supposedly belongs to him. The chandelier above us cost $3,000. I paid for it. The wine he's drinking cost $60 a bottle. I paid for that too. Even the chair he's sitting on, the one at the head of the table like some kind of king, I financed that when the old furniture fell apart. But you wouldn't know any of that by the way he raises his glass. To family, my father Henry Rowan announces with that voice he uses when he wants everyone to remember he's in charge. To this house, to everything I built with my own two hands. My mother Margaret smiles and nods. She's perfected the art of agreement over 59 years of marriage. My son Ethan, who's 8 years old, sits between us, picking at his food. He's the only honest one at this table. Children always are. I lift my glass because that's what you do. You perform the rituals. You play the part. You swallow the bitterness along with the wine. Without me, my father continues, and I can already feel where this is going. This family would have nothing. This house would be nothing. You'd all be out on the street, struggling like the rest of them. The rest of them. That's what he calls people who don't have what we have. People who work 2 jobs and still can't make rent. People like I would have been if I hadn't sacrificed everything to hold this family together. I want to speak. I want to remind him that I've paid the mortgage for the last 7 years, that I covered his gambling debts twice, that when he lost his job at the bank 3 years ago, it was my salary that kept the electricity on and food on this very table. But I don't say anything, because that's the rule in this house. Gratitude flows upward. Criticism flows nowhere. Then it happens. Ethan, reaching for his water, accidentally knocks his plate off the table. It crashes to the floor, shattering into a dozen pieces. The sound echoes through the dining room like a gunshot. For a moment, nobody moves. Then my father explodes. Are you kidding me? Do you know how much those plates cost? Can't you do anything right? You and your mother are nothing but parasites in this house. Leeches, taking and never giving anything back. His voice is so loud it makes the remaining glasses on the table vibrate. Ethan's face crumbles. I see his eyes fill with tears, his bottom lip trembling. He's 8 years old, and the man who's supposed to protect him is treating him like an enemy. I move to comfort my son, but my mother beats me to it. Not to console Ethan, but to add fuel to the fire. Claire, you need to teach him better. A child should know how to behave at the dinner table. Your father is right. We've given you and Ethan everything, and this is how you repay us? With broken dishes and disrespect? Everything. That word hangs in the air like smoke from a fire I didn't start, but am somehow responsible for extinguishing. I kneel down and start picking up the broken pieces of the plate. Each shard feels like a fragment of my dignity, scattered on the floor for everyone to see. Ethan tries to help me, but I shake my head gently. I don't want him to cut himself on the consequences of existing in this house. My father continues his tirade. You know what your problem is, Claire? You've always been ungrateful. We gave you life. We gave you a roof over your head. We put food in your mouth and clothes on your back for 18 years, and now you think a few mortgage payments make you equal to us? There's a debt you can never repay. It's called being born. And that debt doesn't have an expiration date. I finish collecting the broken pieces and walk to the kitchen. The light above the sink is harsh and fluorescent, nothing like the warm glow of the dining room chandelier I paid for. I wash the dishes that survived dinner, one by one, methodically, while my hands shake. Through the doorway, I can hear my father's voice, lower now, but still seething. That's the problem with this generation. They think they deserve everything. They don't understand sacrifice. They don't understand what it means to build something from nothing. From nothing. He built this from nothing. I dry my hands on a towel and lean against the counter. The kitchen clock ticks above me, each second marking the passage of a life I'm not sure I recognize anymore. How did I get here? How did I become the villain in a story where I'm the one who's been saving everyone? When I was 22, fresh out of college with a degree in finance, I had plans. I was going to move to the city, get an apartment with my then boyfriend, start my career, build my own life. But then my father lost a significant amount of money in a bad investment. He didn't tell me the details at the time. He just said the family needed me, that they couldn't lose the house, that I was the only one who could help. So I stayed. I took a job at the local credit union. I moved back into my childhood bedroom. I told my boyfriend that it would just be temporary, maybe 6 months, a year at most. He left after 4 months. I don't blame him. I was drowning, and he didn't want to drown with me. The 6 months turned into a year. The year turned into 5. Then I met Daniel, got pregnant with Ethan, and Daniel left when he realized that dating me meant dating my entire family and their debt. I don't blame him either. By then, I was already too deep. I had become the foundation, and if I moved, the whole structure would collapse. But foundations crack. And tonight, something inside me fractured. After the dishes are done, after Ethan is in bed, after my parents have retreated to their bedroom, I sit at the kitchen table with my laptop and my financial records. I've kept track of everything, every payment I've made, every bill I've covered, every time I've chosen their needs over mine. I open my spreadsheet. The numbers glow on the screen in cold, unforgiving columns. Mortgage payments, property taxes, utility bills, insurance, repairs, groceries, medical expenses, car payments, credit card debt. I've documented it all, not because I was planning to use it against them, but because I'm a financial advisor and tracking money is what I do. It's how I make sense of chaos. The total makes me feel sick. $184,900. That's what I've paid into this family over the past 10 years. That's what I've given to the house that my father claims to have built with his own 2 hands. $184,900 of my life, converted into currency and poured into a foundation that was never meant to hold me up, only to keep everyone else from falling. I close the laptop and put my head in my hands. The kitchen is silent except for that clock, still ticking, still counting down the seconds of a life I'm losing one payment at a time. I thought family was supposed to be the one debt you never had to repay. I thought love was supposed to be freely given, not constantly invoiced. I thought that if I just did enough, gave enough, sacrificed enough, eventually they would see me, really see me, not as a bank account or a safety net, but as a person, as their daughter, as someone worthy of the same care I've shown them. But tonight, when my father called my son and me parasites, when my mother agreed that we were taking and never giving, I finally understood the truth. To them, I'm not family. I'm a resource, a renewable source of income and support that they believe they're entitled to because they gave me life, as if life were a transaction, as if love came with terms and conditions. I'm about to close my laptop and go to bed when something falls out of my financial folder. A piece of paper I haven't seen in years. It flutters to the table, landing face up under the harsh kitchen light. It's a check. An old check from my grandmother's retirement fund. The account she set up before she passed away 3 years ago, specifically for her end-of-life care, and then to be distributed to her grandchildren, including me. But that's not what stops my heart. What stops my heart is the signature on the withdrawal line. It's my name, Claire Rowan, signed in blue ink, authorizing the withdrawal of $15,000 from my grandmother's account. The only problem is, I never signed this check. I never even saw this check until this moment. But I recognize the handwriting trying to mimic mine. I've seen it 1,000 times. On birthday cards, on permission slips when I was a kid, on legal documents and contracts. It's my father's handwriting. He forged my signature. He stole from his own mother's retirement fund, and he used my name to do it. My hands start to tremble as I hold the check up to the light, as if different angles might somehow change what I'm seeing. But no matter how I look at it, the truth remains the same. My father committed fraud, and he committed it in my name. How did this check end up in my files? Did he plant it there? Did he forget about it? Or did he keep it as some kind of insurance, a reminder that he could always frame me if anyone came asking questions? I grab a pen from the counter and hold it over the forged signature. Slowly, deliberately, I trace over my name, following the lines he made, making them darker, making them mine. It's a strange feeling, owning something that was stolen from me, even if it's just a signature. The ink bleeds through the old paper slightly, creating a ghost image on the table beneath. I stare at it, and something shifts inside me. Not anger, exactly. Not even betrayal. Those emotions are too hot, too reactive. What I feel is colder, clearer, calculation. I fold the check carefully and put it in a new folder, one I label documentation. Then I go through my entire financial history and start printing. Every bank statement, every receipt, every email confirming a payment, every text message where my father asked me for money and I said yes. I print until the ink cartridge is nearly empty. I print until there's a stack of paper 6 inches high on the kitchen table. I print until I have physical proof of every single dollar I've given to this family. And then I start writing a list. Not a list of grievances, though I could write that too. This is a different kind of list. This is a list of actions, steps, a plan. Because I've spent 10 years being the solution to everyone else's problems. Maybe it's time I became the problem to my own solution. The clock ticks toward midnight. Somewhere upstairs, Ethan is sleeping, dreaming whatever innocent dreams 8-year-olds dream. My parents are sleeping too, comfortable in the house I paid for, on the mattress I bought them, under the roof I've kept over their heads. I used to think family was about loyalty, about showing up no matter what, about swallowing your pain so that everyone else could be comfortable. But tonight, staring at that forged check, at that stack of financial documents, at the evidence of a decade of one-sided devotion, I realize something that should have been obvious years ago. Loyalty without respect is just slavery with better branding. I don't want revenge. I've never been the vengeful type. But I do want something I should have demanded a long time ago. I want my name back. The real one. Not the forged version. Not the version they twisted into a signature on a check I never authorized. Not the version that's synonymous with yes and how much. And, of course, I'll help. I want the version of Claire Rowan who exists independently of their needs, their demands, their casual cruelty disguised as family values. And I'm going to get it back. Not with tears or tantrums or dramatic confrontations. I'm going to do it the way I do everything else. With documentation. With precision. With the cold, hard truth of numbers that don't lie, and signatures that tell their own story. I turn off the kitchen light. In the darkness, I can still hear that clock ticking. But for the first time in 10 years, I'm not listening to it count down the seconds of my life. I'm listening to it count down the seconds until I take my life back. Tomorrow, I have a meeting with someone who can help me, someone who knows exactly what my father did because she was there when he did it. Tomorrow, the house that my father claims to own is going to learn a new word: foreclosure of lies, repossession of truth, bankruptcy of false narratives, Tomorrow we start balancing the books, and this time I'm the one holding the ledger. Morning comes with that peculiar quality of light that makes everything look both clearer and more unforgiving. I've been awake since 4, unable to sleep, running through scenarios in my mind. By the time Ethan wakes up for school, I've already made 3 pots of coffee and drafted 24 versions of the same conversation. My parents are still asleep when I leave the house. That's normal. They've never been morning people, especially not since my father lost his job, and my mother decided that her full-time occupation was maintaining his ego. I drop Ethan at school and head to my appointment. The office is in the older part of town, in a converted Victorian house that's been subdivided into small professional suites. There's a dentist on the first floor, a therapist on the second, and on the third floor, in a corner office with windows that overlook the street, is Laura Bishop, attorney at law. Laura Bishop is 40 years old, sharp-eyed, and carries herself with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing exactly where all the bodies are buried, because she's the one who drew the maps to find them. She's also the woman who used to work for my father. When Henry Rohn was still a bank manager, before the bad investments and the gambling and the slow professional decline, Laura was his legal consultant. She handled contracts, real estate transactions, loan documentation. She was good at her job, so good that my father often praised her as the only person in his office who understood the difference between legal and ethical and didn't waste time worrying about the latter. That should have been a red flag, but you don't see red flags when you're drowning in red ink. Laura left my father's employment 5 years ago. Quietly. No drama. No exit interview that anyone talked about. She just set up her own practice and never looked back. I only found out later, through casual conversation with a former colleague, that she left because she'd been asked to do something that crossed a line even she wouldn't cross. What that something was, I'm about to find out. Her assistant leads me into the office. Laura is sitting behind a massive oak desk that looks like it was salvaged from a courtroom. The walls are lined with law books and framed degrees. Everything about this space says, "I'm serious, and you should take me seriously." She doesn't stand when I enter. Instead, she gestures to the chair across from her and says, "You look like your father." It's not a compliment. I sit down and place my folder on the desk between us. I found something. I need to know if it's what I think it is, and if it is, I need to know what to do about it. Laura leans back in her chair. Before you show me anything, I need to tell you something. I left your father's employment because he asked me to falsify documents. Specifically, he asked me to modify a loan agreement to make it appear as though certain payments had been made when they hadn't. He wanted me to backdate signatures and alter financial records. My stomach drops. Did you do it? No, that's why I left. But I suspect someone else did it for him. And if you're here, sitting in my office with that look on your face, I'm guessing you've found proof. I open my folder and slide the forged check across the desk. He signed my name to withdraw money from my grandmother's retirement fund. $15,000. I never authorized it. I never even knew about it until last night. Laura picks up the check and examines it with the practiced eye of someone who's seen every kind of fraud humans are capable of committing against each other. After a long moment, she sets it down and meets my eyes. This is bank fraud and identity theft. If you wanted to, you could press charges. He'd likely face jail time. I don't want him in jail. Then what do you want? It's a simple question, but it feels enormous. What do I want? Justice? Revenge? An apology? Money? Freedom? All of those things. None of those things. I want my name back. I finally say. I want to stop being responsible for their choices. I want to stop paying for a house they claim to own. I want to stop being the person everyone takes from and no one gives to. I want my signature to mean something true instead of something stolen. Laura nods slowly. I can help you with that, but you need to understand what you're asking for. If we pursue this legally, your family will know. There will be consequences. Relationships will break. Your father will fight back, and he'll fight dirty because that's who he is. I know. Do you? Because I've seen families implode over less. I've seen parents disown children for demanding accountability. I've seen siblings stop speaking for decades because someone dared to tell the truth about the family finances. Are you prepared for that? I think about last night. The broken plate, the word parasites, the forged signature, the 10 years of payments that amount to nearly $200,000 of my life. I'm already disowned. I say quietly, I just haven't made it official yet. Laura's expression softens slightly, which might be as close to sympathy as she gets. All right, then let's make it official. But first, I need to tell you something else. Something I should have told someone 5 years ago, but I was too much of a coward. She opens her desk drawer and pulls out a file, an old file, worn at the edges, with my father's name on the tab. In 2015, your father took out a home equity line of credit on the house. He used forged tax documents to inflate his income and get approved for a larger amount than he should have qualified for. I know this because I was the one who prepared the initial application. I didn't falsify anything, but when he came back with revised tax forms, I knew something was wrong. I asked him about it, and he told me it was none of my business. That's when I started documenting everything. She opens the file and spreads papers across the desk. Bank statements, loan applications, tax forms with numbers that don't match, email correspondence where my father explicitly asks about creative accounting strategies. I kept all of this because I knew someday it would matter. I knew someday someone would need proof that Henry Rowan isn't just a man who made bad choices. He's a man who deliberately defrauds systems and people to maintain a lifestyle he can't afford. I stare at the documents. There's something almost beautiful about evidence. It doesn't have opinions. It doesn't take sides. It just exists, telling the truth whether anyone wants to hear it or not. Why are you showing me this now? I ask. Because 5 years ago, I chose my career over doing the right thing. I walked away instead of reporting him. I told myself it wasn't my problem, that someone else would catch him eventually. But nobody did. He just kept going, kept lying, kept using people. And one of those people was you. Laura stands and walks to the window. The morning sun creates a silhouette around her, making her look almost ethereal, like a figure in a painting about judgment and redemption. I can't undo the past, she continues. I can't give back the 5 years I spent sleeping fine at night while your father probably ruined more lives. But I can help you now. I can use everything I know, everything I documented to help you get free of him. Consider it my penance. I don't need your penance, I say. I need your expertise. She turns and smiles, and it's the first genuine expression I've seen on her face. Then you'll have it. Here's what we're going to do. Over the next hour, Laura outlines a plan. It's meticulous, thorough, and slightly terrifying in its precision. We're not just going to confront my father. We're going to systematically dismantle every lie he's built his life on. First, we'll correct the home equity loan documents. Laura has connections at the bank where my father secured the fraudulent loan. With the evidence she has, we can prove that the loan was obtained through false pretenses. This doesn't just nullify the loan, it potentially transfers the liability entirely to my father. Second, we'll file paperwork to establish the true ownership of the house. Laura explains something I didn't know. In our state, if someone has been paying the majority of property taxes and mortgage for more than 7 years, they can petition for equitable ownership, even if the deed is in someone else's name. I've been paying for 10 years. The house, legally, might already be mine. Third, we'll address the forged check. We won't press criminal charges, but we will use it as leverage. The threat of prosecution is often more powerful than prosecution itself. Here's what you need to understand, Laura says, pulling out a legal pad and drawing a diagram. Your father built a house of cards, and you've been the table holding it up. When you remove the table, the cards don't just fall. They scatter. Some will land face up, exposing what was always hidden. Some will land face down, and we'll have to flip them over ourselves. But all of them will land. And my mother? I ask. She didn't forge anything. She didn't take out fraudulent loans. She just went along with it. Complicity is its own crime, Laura says. Maybe not legally, but morally. Your mother chose silence. She chose to benefit from your father's fraud. She chose to let you carry the burden while she enjoyed the comfort. That's a choice. And choices have consequences. I think about my mother's face last night when she called me ungrateful. The way she's perfected the art of looking away whenever my father does something cruel. The way she's wrapped her silence in the language of peacekeeping, as if refusing to acknowledge wrongdoing is the same thing as preventing it. Ooh, what happens after we do all this? I ask. What does the aftermath look like? Laura sits back down and folds her hands on the desk. Honestly, it's going to be ugly. Your father will rage. He'll accuse you of betrayal, of being a bad daughter, of destroying the family. Your mother will likely side with him, at least publicly. They'll tell everyone you've turned against them, that you're vindictive, that you're mentally unstable. They'll rewrite history to make themselves the victims of your cruelty rather than the architects of their own consequences. And you let them. You don't engage with the narrative. You don't defend yourself to people who've already decided you're wrong. You present the facts to the people who matter, the bank, the court, your lawyer, and you let the truth do what truth does when it's finally allowed to speak. She leans forward, and her voice drops to something almost gentle. Claire, you've spent 10 years trying to earn love from people who view you as a utility. You can't fix that by being more useful. You can only fix it by refusing to be used anymore. And that means accepting that they might never love you the way you deserve to be loved. Are you ready for that? It's the question I've been avoiding since I found that check last night. Am I ready to grieve the family I wished I had? Am I ready to accept that the people who gave me life might never give me respect? Am I ready to be orphaned by choice rather than circumstance? The answer should be no. The answer should be that I need more time, more certainty, more proof that this is the right decision. But when I think about Ethan, about the way my father screamed at him over a broken plate, about how my son is learning that love comes with invoices and family comes with conditions, the answer becomes clear. I'm ready, I say. What do we do first? Laura pulls out a contract. First, you hire me officially. Then we start gathering documentation. I'll need copies of every financial record you have. Every text message where your father asked you for money. Every email. Every receipt. We build a case not in criminal court, but in the court of financial truth. We show, with numbers that don't lie, exactly who has been supporting this family. I sign the contract. My real signature. Not a forgery, not a permission slip for someone else to act in my name. Just my name, chosen and owned and mine. Laura takes the contract and files it. Welcome to the process of reclaiming yourself. It's going to hurt. It's going to cost you relationships you thought were unbreakable. But on the other side of this pain is something you haven't had in a long time. What's that? Freedom. The real kind. Not the kind where you're free to say yes, the kind where you're free to say no. As I leave her office, I feel something unfamiliar. It's not happiness. It's not even relief. It's something quieter and stronger. It's the feeling of a door closing behind me and another one opening ahead. It's the sound of my own voice, finally learning to speak in a language that doesn't translate every boundary into betrayal. I drive home, but I don't go inside immediately. I sit in my car in the driveway, looking at the house that's dominated my life for the past decade. It's a nice house. Colonial style, blue shutters, a garden that I maintain because nobody else will. From the outside, it looks like the kind of place where happy families live, the kind of place where children are safe and parents are loving, and everyone sits down to dinner without anyone calling anyone else a parasite. From the outside, it looks like a home. But I know the truth. This isn't a home. It's a monument to debt. Not financial debt, though there's plenty of that. It's a monument to emotional debt, the kind you can never fully repay because the terms keep changing and the interest rate is determined by cruelty disguised as concern. My phone buzzes. A text from Laura. First step is done. I've filed paperwork with the county assessor's office to request a review of the property tax records. They'll see that you've been the primary taxpayer for 7 years. This starts the clock on the ownership review process. Don't tell your parents yet. Let the system work first. I text back. Understood. What's next? We wait. And while we wait, we document. Keep track of every interaction with your parents. Record conversations if it's legal in your state. Save every text message. Build a timeline. The truth is on your side, but truth needs evidence to be believed. Record conversations. Build a timeline. Turn my family into a case file. It should feel wrong. It should feel like a betrayal of everything family is supposed to be. But family was betrayed long before I picked up a recording device. It was betrayed when my father forged my signature. It was betrayed when my mother chose his comfort over my dignity. It was betrayed every time I said yes when I meant no, and every time they heard my yes as permission to ask for more. I'm not betraying family. I'm documenting the betrayal that's already happened. I get out of the car and walk into the house. My father is in the living room watching television. My mother is in the kitchen, doing something that looks like cooking but is really just arranging store-bought food on plates to maintain the illusion of domesticity. Neither of them looks up when I enter. Claire, my father calls from the living room. The cable bill is due tomorrow. Can you handle it? Can you handle it? Not could you or would you mind? Not even please. Just the assumption that I will handle it because I always handle it because handling things is what I'm for. Actually, Dad, we need to talk about the bills. Not now. My show is on. His show. The one I pay for through the streaming service subscription. It's important. It can wait. Everything can always wait until I'm ready to deal with it. And there it is. The casual dismissal. The reminder that my priorities are always secondary to his convenience, that my needs are always negotiable, but his wants are sacred. I could push. I could insist. I could make a scene right now, pull out that forged check and demand answers. But Laura's voice echoes in my head. Let the system work first. So instead I say, sure, Dad, we'll talk later. I walk upstairs to my room. The room I had as a teenager and still occupy as a 32-year-old woman because I've never had the financial freedom to leave. The walls are still the same color I painted them when I was 16. The bookshelf still holds textbooks from college. It's a time capsule of a life that never progressed because I kept running in place, generating enough forward momentum to carry everyone else but never enough to move myself. I sit on my bed and open my laptop. I create a new folder and label it Project Freedom. Inside, I start organizing everything. Financial records, text messages, emails, the forged check. Laura's documentation of my father's fraudulent loan, property tax receipts with my name on them. Each file I add feels like a brick. I'm building something, not a house, but a fortress. A place where the truth is protected and lies can't penetrate. My phone buzzes again. This time it's not Laura. It's my mother. Claire, can you pick up milk on your way home? And bread. And maybe some of those cookies your father likes. I stare at the message. She doesn't know I'm already home. She doesn't know I'm sitting one floor above her, building the case that will dismantle the life she thinks is secure. I text back. I'm already home, Mom, and I think Dad can get his own cookies. 3 dots appear, indicating she's typing. They disappear. Appear again. Disappear. Finally, is something wrong? Is something wrong? As if the past 10 years haven't been one long, continuous wrong. As if calling my son a parasite last night wasn't wrong. As if forging my signature wasn't wrong. As if taking and taking and taking while giving nothing but criticism wasn't wrong. I type, we need to have a family meeting, all of us, tomorrow night. About what? About the house. And money. And the truth. This time, the 3 dots appear and stay for almost a minute. I can imagine her downstairs, panicking, wondering what I know, calculating how to manage whatever crisis she thinks is coming. Her response is carefully worded. Claire, you know your father doesn't like surprises. If there's something you need to discuss, maybe you should talk to him privately first. This isn't a private matter. This is a family matter. Tomorrow night, after dinner. Tell Dad. I turn off my phone before she can respond. I don't want to negotiate. I don't want to be talked out of it. I don't want to give them time to prepare their defenses or rehearse their justifications. I want them to feel, for once, the way I've felt for years. Off balance, uncertain, waiting for a verdict they can't control. Outside my window, the sun is setting. The house is quiet except for the sound of the television downstairs and my mother's footsteps in the kitchen. It's the kind of quiet that used to feel peaceful. Now it just feels like the calm before something breaks. I think about Laura's question. Am I ready for the aftermath? Am I ready for my parents to call me ungrateful, vindictive, cruel? Am I ready to be written out of the family narrative? Or worse, written in as the villain? The answer is the same as it was in her office. I'm ready. Because the alternative is spending the rest of my life as a supporting character in someone else's story. The alternative is teaching my son that love means accepting abuse, and family means financing other people's comfort at the expense of your own dignity. The alternative is dying slowly, one payment at a time, until there's nothing left of me but a signature on other people's checks, and I'm done dying for people who don't even notice I'm bleeding. Tomorrow night, we have a family meeting, and the house that's been built on lies is about to learn what happens when the foundation starts telling the truth. The next evening arrives with the weight of inevitability, one of those moments where before and after press against each other, separated only by what's about to be said. I've set the dining table, not for dinner, but for confrontation. The same table where my father once declared ownership over everything, and where my son broke a plate that shattered the illusion of family. At exactly 7, I step into the living room. My father's watching TV. My mother's pretending to read but really tracking his mood like weather. We need to talk. Now. Dining room. He doesn't move. Can it wait until the show's over? No. Something in my tone makes him look up. Flat. Unapologetic. Final. He grumbles but follows. My mother trails behind. We sit. Ethan's gone for a sleepover. Thank God. Some lessons children shouldn't learn firsthand. I lay a folder on the table. Not Laura's, mine. Documentation. Truth in paper form. For 10 years, I begin, I've been paying for this house. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, utilities, repairs. Here's proof. I spread the papers across the table. Bank statements, receipts, canceled checks. $184,900. That's what I've contributed since I was 22. My father waves a hand. So what? You lived here, ate our food, benefited as much as we did. I paid adult bills to live in my childhood room. I say evenly. Let's talk benefits. I pull out more pages. You and Mom consume 2/3 of the groceries. I pay for 83%. The cable you watch costs $140 a month. I've paid every bill. The car you drive? Registered in my name because your credit's too low. I've made every payment. My mother finally speaks. Claire, we raised you, fed you. You owe us something. The old refrain. The debt of being born. You're right, I say. You fed me for 18 years. That was your job. Parenthood isn't a loan with interest. My father's voice rises. We gave you opportunities. College. You gave me student loans. I counter, pulling out statements. I worked 3 jobs. You didn't pay a dime. What you gave me, I continue, was expectation. That I'd always say yes. That gratitude meant servitude. You're being dramatic, my mother murmurs, but her voice trembles. Am I? 2 nights ago, Dad called me and Ethan parasites. That's not drama. It's truth said out loud. My father shifts, suddenly uneasy. I was angry. I didn't mean it. You meant it, I say. Every time you used me like an ATM, you meant it. Especially when you did this. I slide a check across the table. My signature. Except it isn't. My mother goes pale. That's from your grandmother's fund. Yes. And I never signed it. You forged my name, Dad. $15,000. Bank fraud, identity theft, a felony. He blusters. You can't prove? I already have. A handwriting expert confirmed it. Laura Bishop verified the records. Remember her? The legal consultant you tried to pressure into falsifying documents? His face drains. He stands. You went to Laura Bishop? Behind my back? I went to a lawyer who remembers your fraud, I reply calmly, and she's ready to act if needed. So you're threatening me? I'm giving you a choice. We fix this privately. House, bills, everything. Or I go to the authorities. My mother covers her face. Claire, please. You'll destroy this family. This family destroyed itself. I'm just stopping the bleeding. By attacking your father? By defending myself. My father turns to the window. The yard I mow. The fence I paid to repair. What do you want? I want the house. Legally. In my name. I've paid for it for 10 years. And us? My mother whispers. You can stay and pay rent, fair rent, or leave, but this stops being your house that I fund. Tears streak her face. You're making us homeless. I'm making you accountable. My father's fury boils over. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? After everything I've done for you, this is how you repaid me, with fraud and blame. So yes, this is repayment. The truth. He slams the table. This is my house. I built this family. I've paid for this house. I have proof. According to state law, 7 years of sole financial responsibility grants equitable ownership. Laura filed the paperwork yesterday. The silence that follows feels seismic. You already filed? My mother asks faintly. Yes. The county will see I've paid 87% of the mortgage. The outcome's inevitable. The only question is how much you'll fight reality. He steps closer, stops a foot away. The look on his face isn't anger. It's defeat. You planned this, he says, scheming behind our backs. I documented the truth. That it looks like a case against you says more about you than me. You're just like me, he sneers. Cold. Calculating. If I were like you, I'd have forged signatures, not evidence. Get out, he snaps. This is my house, I reply. He turns to my mother. Pack. We're leaving. Where will we go? She asks softly. I don't care. A hotel. Anywhere but here. You are a criminal, Dad, I say quietly. The only reason you're not in jail is because I'm giving you the choice to leave clean. He freezes halfway up the stairs. You'll regret this. When you're old and alone, remember tonight. You chose money over family. No, I say. I chose myself over exploitation. He disappears upstairs. My mother lingers, eyes red. Do you really hate us that much? I don't hate you, I say. If I did, this would be easier. I just refuse to love you at my own expense. There has to be a compromise. The compromise was the last decade, I answer. It's over. She sighs, trembling. I hope you can live with this. I already am, I whisper. They pack in silence. 30 minutes later, suitcases in hand, they walk past me without a word. My mother pauses at the door. We'll send for the rest. Take your time, I reply. The car starts. The engine fades. Silence fills the house, the kind of silence that means something has ended. I walk room to room. The living room where my father ruled. The kitchen where my mother pretended normal. My old bedroom. Each space lighter, emptier, mine. I call Laura. They're gone. How do you feel? Relieved. Guilty. Terrified. All normal, she says. You set a boundary. They refused it. That's on them. Do you think they'll come back? Probably. People like your father don't surrender. They reframe. Be ready. They'll guilt trip you, call you cruel, rewrite history. Hold the line. I can do that. I know you can. I'll see you next week for the final filing. When we hang up, I sit on the couch, the same one where he'd insulted me days ago. It's just a couch now. My phone buzzes. A text from Dad. You made your choice. Don't expect help when you need it. I almost laugh. When had they ever helped? I text back. Noted. A message from Mom follows. I'm praying for you. I hope you find peace with what you've done. I hope I do too, I think, but not by undoing this, by breathing freely for once. I don't reply. Upstairs, I sit on Ethan's bed. Tomorrow he'll ask where they are, and I'll have to explain that sometimes family means protecting yourself. That love without respect isn't love. It's debt. I pick up one of his stuffed animals. He's 8, I'm 32. We're both learning the same lesson. Love shouldn't require self-erasure. Care shouldn't come with invoices. Family shouldn't feel like captivity. Outside, the sun sets. The house is silent. Not the silence of fear, but of freedom. For the first time in 10 years, I breathe. Not because I won, not because I destroyed them, but because I finally stopped fighting for love I was never going to receive. The war is over, and I'm still here. Bruised, tired, but standing. Still here, still free, still mine. 5 days pass. 5 quiet, strange days. The kind of peace that comes not from calm, but from the sudden absence of chaos. Ethan adapts faster than I expect. When I tell him Grandma and Grandpa are staying elsewhere, he just asks if he can use Grandpa's office for Lego projects. Children are pragmatic about changes that adults agonize over. I've been working from home. Partly to catch up. Partly to avoid questions from coworkers who'd noticed that something in my face has changed. Not physically, but the look of exhaustion and freedom locked in a stalemate. Laura handles the legal side, the assessor's office, the bank. Everything moves with bureaucratic inevitability. My parents haven't contacted me. The silence feels both like punishment and relief. On the 6th day, I come home after dropping Ethan off and find a moving truck in the driveway. 2 men load familiar furniture, the living room couch, my parents' dresser, the dining chairs. Are you Claire Rowan? One asks. Yes. Henry Rowan hired us, said this was his stuff, gave us a list. He shows me the inventory, my father's handwriting. He's taking only what he can claim as his. No appliances I bought, no items clearly mine. Strategic, as always. Go ahead, I say. Piece by piece, their life leaves this house, and with every item gone, it feels more like mine. Then a car pulls up. My mother steps out. She doesn't use her key. She knocks. A guest now. Hi, Mom. Hi, Claire. We stand uncertainly until she says, I came to get some things, and to talk, if you're willing. I let her in. She walks slowly, absorbing the small changes, the bare walls, the missing family photos, the calm order I've restored. Coffee? I ask. Habit dies hard. She nods, and we sit at the kitchen table, the same place where everything shattered days ago. Your father is furious, she says. I know. He says you've ruined everything, that you're vindictive, ungrateful. I know that too. She looks up. But I also know he's wrong. That I didn't expect. I found something while packing, she says, pulling out a worn manila envelope. Open it. Inside, bills, receipts, all stamped paid, all with my name on them. Utilities, property taxes, water bills, going back nearly a decade. I don't understand, I say. Why did you keep these? Her eyes shine with tears. Because I knew. You think I didn't notice who paid for everything? I knew, Claire. I always knew. Then why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you defend me? Because I was afraid. Of what? He's never been violent. Of poverty, she whispers. Of losing everything. I grew up poor, Claire. Really poor. The kind of poor that makes you terrified forever. When your father started making bad choices, I panicked. I told myself you could handle it. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself lies so I wouldn't have to face the truth. That I let him use you. The words hang heavy. I chose security over integrity, she continues. Comfort over defending my daughter. And I'm sorry. It's the apology I've wanted all my life, and I don't know what to do with it. Why now? I ask. Because I've listened to him rage for 5 days about how you destroyed the family, and I realized he's wrong. You didn't destroy it. You escaped it. And I helped build the prison. She pushes the envelope toward me. I kept these because I knew someday they'd matter. Maybe out of guilt, maybe to bear witness. But I kept them. They're yours now. Proof of what you carried. I stare at the pile. You don't accidentally keep records like this. No, she admits. It was intentional. My way of preserving truth, even while I stayed silent. That's not the same as standing up for me. I know, she says softly. But it's all I have. That. And this. From her purse, she produces a small silver key. To a storage unit downtown, she says. Unit 247. Everything your father ever told me to destroy, I kept it. Tax forms, loans, letters. I couldn't bring myself to burn the evidence. You're giving me ammunition. I'm giving you truth, she says. Use it how you need. Are you leaving him? I ask. She shakes her head. No, I'm not strong enough. But I won't help him hurt you anymore. I won't carry his guilt or deliver his messages. That ends here. It doesn't feel like I've won anything. Not yet. But you will. You'll win your life back. As she leaves, she turns at the door. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know. You did what I never could. And I'm proud of you. You could have stood with me. I know, she says. And I'll live with that. She's gone. The movers too. The house falls quiet again. I sit with the envelope and the key, my mother's late offering. Not money, not protection, just truth. The kind that arrives too late to stop damage but just in time to confirm it existed. I organize the bills, by year, type, and amount, creating a spreadsheet of every payment I made, proof that while I was accused of tearing the family apart, I was the one holding it together. Then I drive downtown. Unit 247 sits deep inside a climate-controlled maze. I unlock it. The space is small but full, boxes labeled in my mother's tidy handwriting. Tax returns 2010-2015, loans, legal correspondence. Personal records. Inside each box. Evidence. Inflated income statements. Fake deductions. Letters from creditors. Settlement agreements quietly buried. A paper trail of deceit. I call Laura. I need you to come to a storage unit. Bring boxes. When she arrives with a paralegal and a scanner, we spend hours cataloging everything. By the end, we have a complete digital archive of my father's crimes. This is extraordinary, Laura says. Your mother built a secret evidence locker. Maybe for protection, maybe for guilt. Either way, it's gold. Can we use it? For your house? Absolutely. For prosecution? Definitely. I don't want him in jail, I say. She studies me. You're sure? He'd face years for this. I'm sure. I want freedom, not revenge. I won't use power to punish, only to protect. She nods. Then we use it as leverage. Give him a choice. Sign over the house or face prosecution. People usually choose freedom. We finish scanning and lock up the unit. Driving home, I realize I'm not angry anymore. Just tired. The kind of fatigue that follows release from a long captivity. Ethan's home when I arrive, bubbling with stories from his friend's house. I hold him close. This is why I did it. So he won't grow up thinking love equals endurance, or that worth equals servitude. That night, I sit in what used to be my parents' room. Empty now, but full of possibility. Maybe I'll make it my office. Maybe a studio. A space for something that belongs only to me. For once, every dollar I earn will build my future, not patch someone else's past. My phone buzzes. A text from Mom. Thank you for letting me talk. And for not hating me. I don't deserve either kindness. I reply, I don't hate you. I just can't save you anymore. 3 dots appear, disappear, then, I know. I hope someday I can save myself. I hope so too. I text back. I glance around the empty room. Tomorrow, Laura will finalize the deed transfer. Tomorrow, the records will show what's long been true. This house is mine, not inherited, not gifted, earned, payment by payment, boundary by boundary. But tonight, I sit on the carpet, holding a key to a storage unit full of secrets and an envelope full of truth. My mother couldn't stand beside me, but she bore witness in silence. And sometimes, silence is its own confession. Confession is its own kind of courage. Maybe not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. And for now, acknowledgement is enough. 3 weeks later, the house is legally mine. The deed arrived 2 days ago, thick paper, embossed seals, the bureaucratic poetry that turns life into law. I've read it a dozen times, not from confusion, but disbelief. Claire Rowan, sole owner, not dependent daughter, not caretaker, not the woman whose signature could be forged or whose earnings could be drained in the name of family. Just owner, free. The walls haven't changed, but the air has. The house feels lighter, exhaling after a decade of holding its breath. I've started redecorating. New curtains, fresh paint, rooms reclaimed. Ethan now sleeps in the master bedroom, a Lego kingdom of color and noise. My own room, once frozen in teenage blue, is soft gray now, hung with art I chose myself. Work is thriving. Without the weight of my parents' crises, I'm sharper, more creative. My boss noticed. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I didn't tell her I'm simply living my own life. Ethan's adjusted better than I ever expected. Children have a way of healing forward. Sometimes he asks, will Grandma and Grandpa come back? Maybe, I tell him, but not to live here. This is our house now. Good, he said. Grandpa was mean. You're nicer when he's gone. Out of the mouths of children comes the truth adults avoid. My father hasn't called. His lawyer reviewed the documents, saw the evidence of forgery and exploitation, and advised surrender. He signed. No apology, but no fight. That's enough. My mother texts occasionally. Hope you're well. Miss you. I answer politely, nothing more. We hover between estrangement and politeness. Two people bound by history, not future. Maybe that's what healing looks like. Not dramatic reconciliation, just distance and peace. Today is Saturday. Ethan's at a birthday party. I'm home alone. No crisis, no guilt, just tea and silence that feels earned. Cleaning the kitchen, I open the junk drawer, still full of my father's leftovers, dead pens, old keys, expired coupons. I start tossing things out. It feels symbolic. At the back, an envelope catches my eye. My name. His handwriting. I freeze. Part of me wants to throw it away. Part of me needs to know. Inside, one folded page. The handwriting shaky, smudged. I unfold it. Claire, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I'm writing at 2 a.m. in the house I'm realizing was never truly mine. You're right about almost everything. I forged your signature. I stole from you. I treated you like a resource instead of a daughter. I could tell stories about poverty, about shame, about wanting more. But excuses aren't reasons, and reasons aren't justifications. What I did was wrong, not just legally, morally, humanly. I stole not only money but years, opportunities, peace, and the chance for you to build your own life without my interference. The worst part is, I knew. Every guilt trip, every demand, every manipulation. I knew what I was doing and did it anyway, because your giving was easier than my changing. I'm 61 and don't know how to be different. I don't know how to earn instead of take, or how to love without control. But I know this. You were right. You did what you had to. Protecting yourself from me wasn't cruelty. It was survival. If there's another life, I hope I'm better. A father who builds instead of bleeds, who loves without invoices. In this life, I failed. Completely. And no letter can undo it. I'm sorry, Claire. Not the kind of sorry that expects forgiveness. The kind that simply tells the truth. I hope you build a life you never have to escape. Dad. I read it 3 times. The first time, disbelief. My father, apologizing, taking responsibility. Impossible. The second, recognition, that he'd always known the truth. The third, I cry. Not because it fixes anything. It doesn't. But for the first time, he saw me, not as a wallet or scapegoat, but as a person. That matters. Later, I text my mother. Did you know about the letter? Yes, she replies. He wrote it 2 years ago. I found it once, but didn't think he'd ever give it to you. He wrote it for himself. Proof he could be honest, at least on paper. Should I respond? That's up to you. But he meant it. Every word. I sit at the same kitchen table he described, the one where he confessed on paper what he couldn't say aloud. I pick up my pen. Dad, I found your letter. Maybe you meant for me too. Maybe not. Either way, I have it now. Thank you for being honest. It doesn't undo the damage, but it matters that you finally understand what you did. I'm not ready to forgive. Maybe I never will. But I can acknowledge your effort and the truth in your words. You asked if I could think of you without anger. Maybe someday I'll think of you with sadness instead. Sadness for who you could have been, for the father I needed but never had. That's not forgiveness. It's acknowledgement. Recognition that you're human, flawed, aware, even if change came too late. I hope you find peace. I hope you learn that worth isn't built on taking. I hope you understand my hope doesn't mean I owe you anything. This is goodbye. Not angry, just true. We're connected by blood, not obligation. I release you from being the father I needed. And I release myself from being the daughter you used. We're just two people now, bound only by memory. Claire. I fold the letter but don't seal it. Maybe I'll send it. Maybe not. Maybe the point is the writing, the articulation of truth. I place both letters in a new envelope labeled "The Conversation We Couldn't Have in Person." 2 letters, 2 admissions, enough to close the ledger between us. That evening, Ethan returns, bursting with stories of cake and games. He doesn't notice I've been crying. He doesn't have to. His joy fills the room. And that's the real victory. Not the deed, not the letters, not even justice. The victory is this. My son feels safe. He doesn't flinch at raised voices. He doesn't measure love by sacrifice. He knows home as a place of peace, not tension. That's what I fought for all along. Not revenge. Freedom. Later, as I tuck him in, I notice a sign taped to his wall, colored in crayon and stickers. This house belongs to Mom and me. No one can take it. It's ours forever. I stand there for a long moment, absorbing it. Every line radiating certainty, safety, love without condition. That's what freedom looks like. Downstairs, I make tea and open my laptop. My budget spreadsheet glows on screen. At the bottom, I add, debts owed, Ziko's debts paid. All of them, balance, free. I save the file, close the laptop. The house is quiet. Not the oppressive quiet of fear, but the steady hum of peace. The kitchen light is warm. The clock ticks, unhurried. For the first time in years, I'm not counting down. I'm just here. Whole. Free. Through the window, the night is clear. The world feels open again. Tomorrow, I'll wake in a home that's legally mine. Make breakfast for my son in a kitchen that doesn't carry anyone else's ghosts. Earn money for our future, not someone else's past. Tomorrow and every day after, this house will owe no one anything. Not money, not apologies, not servitude, nothing. And in that nothing, I've found everything. Peace, dignity, and the kind of love that doesn't come with invoices. At the top of the stairs, I pass the wall where family portraits used to hang. The frames are gone. In their place, Ethan's smile, a sunset, a quote I love. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. It's not a family photo, but it's more honest than any we ever took. At the landing, I look back one last time. The quiet living room, the warm kitchen, the home that's finally mine. Paid in full, I whisper, every single debt. Then I turn out the lights and go to bed. In a house where the balance is 0, and 0, I've learned, is the most valuable number in the world.